first guest, and if you would. You don't know each other, do you?
No.
You might by the end of this one. 2 people per square metre. So walk around, occupy the space as if you... Yeah, okay, so you don't know each other, you're watching an event, the event's out in front here. Quite comfortable, you're not invading each other's personal space, and you'll often see shoulder-to-shoulder contact, because this isn't personal space on this side. Okay, so very important, 2 people per square metre is where you would take an event space, it's your first calculation. How much area do I have? 2 people per square metre gives me my first guess of capacity. But it's a little more complicated than that. Do we have a third one? You don't know these, do you?
No.
This is going to be fun. So this would be a bar or a nightclub, and 3 people per square metre, so I can walk through that. Excuse me, don't step out of the box, try and get through there. And if you're looking at a crowd and you can see that level of movement, you've got an idea of density. So you're not in proximity, you can talk to each other, it's quite comfortable, you're not into that personal space. You can see where this is going, can't you?
But it also depends on if people are dancing or not, right? Because if you're standing to a concert and you're standing still.
Shall we ask them to dance, do you think?
No.
Come on guys, let's see dancing. Is there 3 people per square metre? I did, we had a prosecution in a nightclub saying that it was packed to 7 people per square metre. And yet they observed dancing. So you can see here that the statement didn't correlate with their perception of density. So it's very important that we get that reference in mind. That's a good point. Great. Thank you. Okay, so 3 people per square metre would be a nightclub. Now, sometimes the guidance talks about area per person. So what's 0.3 of a square metre per person? Yeah, you have to kind of work it out, but 3 people per square metre is dead easy to visualise. I always work in people per square metre. It's just 1 over area per person. So if I got 0.3 of a square metre per person, that's 3 people per square metre, 1 upon 3. So it's easy to convert, but I always insist that people visualise it as density, people per square metre, because it's easy to relate to, it's easy to visualise. Would you mind maybe joining a little group here?
Getting busy.
I'm just trying to think about being beneficial. Now, we now have 4 people per square metre. That would be queuing systems. So any system that people are queuing in, you would calculate at that density, because you can stand for a period of time, you're not encroaching each other's space, and there's still room for a bit of flexibility and movement. Yeah? You're viewing area at an event, would you mind?
Yeah.
Well, maybe if you just stand at the outside, so we're trying to get the girls in the middle, you'll see why in a second. But basically because they volunteered to get in the middle of a group of humpy-looking guys. Have I picked the right ones yet?
Oh, yeah.
She's happy. Yeah. Just send the check. So 5 people per square metre. Now, the guidance in the UK talks about 4.7 people per square metre for a viewing area. But we don't have a 0.7. No, we don't have anybody missing limbs. No. So 5 gives you a good approximation, because believe it or not, we're not all the same size and shape. So if we were to select, I did have one class where it was 1 person per square metre, and that would have been my limit. So we're not all the same size and shape. So at that level, how does that feel? It's a bit difficult for me to get through the middle, but you're still not invading personal space. Can I, you look like the kind of guy who would have a bit of a laugh. Right, okay. This isn't personal space. But I get up close and personal. Zones around us, and we'll see as the density starts to increase, you start to feel very uncomfortable. Settle down.
Can I touch?
No, you can't. That's strictly forbidden. So at 5 people per square metre for viewing, you can be quite comfortable for a length of time. We don't have to exclude you from this one, would you mind? Smallish person. Smallish? And again, if you wouldn't mind, Chantal, if you wouldn't mind trying to get in the middle of the group, so if we have gentlemen around you, you'll start to see how does that start to feel?
Well,
yeah? It's 6, okay? We're starting to get, but we still don't have risk, because there's space there. The other thing you'll notice, if you're imagining you're watching an event, you want to try and be as comfortable as possible, you may put your feet slightly further apart, yeah? That's reasonably stable, okay? Again, reasonably comfortable. 6 people per square metre. We're not seeing a psychological impact. We're not seeing a risk as such. Let's go one more, yeah? 7? Yeah, he's straight in there. Okay, now Chantal, how's that starting to feel?
Yeah, it's a little bit.
Okay, it starts to feel uncomfortable, and now we're starting to feel that people are touching us. So it starts to feel a little bit uncomfortable. Particularly, we tend to see the ladies tend to adopt this, well, obviously, natural protective position because bits are being prodded and poked, and that can feel threatening, particularly to a young lady. But we're really just looking at crowd density of, what, 7 people per square metre? Now, I'm going to do a bit of an experiment. Brace yourself. We haven't killed anybody in there. Have they all signed the insurance with you?
Yeah.
You've all signed the insurance with you. I'm going to give the back of the crowd a bit of a push, and you might feel a little bit of a reaction.
And I can't fall out.
Okay? No, you can do what you like. Don't sort of brace yourself for it or over-exaggerate. A little bit of a push here. You see there's a little bit of a knock-on effect, but not too much. Okay, let's go. Yeah, go ahead. You've been waiting for your turn. Here you go. Now, 8 people per square metre is crush loading on trains. Okay, so that's what we call a crush load on a train. You're up to 8 people per square metre. That's how they will pack it. It's illegal to transport animals above the equivalent of 2 people per square metre. You'll be prosecuted for transporting animals, but you're okay to transport people at 4 times that level of density. And again, a little bit of push on the back here.
Push back.
Yeah. Not quite yet. We've still got a little bit of space between them. Can we go forward now? Yeah. So we've got 9 people per square metre now. And now what happens is his feet are now together. And that's not entirely stable. Yeah, and even the slightest movement can cause the push. So if I do a little bit of a knock here, now we see the whole crowd.
Strike.
Nobody got injured on that one, I hope, no? Now, I have a colleague of mine who will then give a 10-minute talk and leave them there. Because it's starting to feel very uncomfortable in the middle. Yeah? You can't see things. This is the point in terms of trains, particularly London Underground. You get complaints about being touched inappropriately. And it might be accidental, but it's too packed. An event, well, that's really difficult in terms of managing it. If somebody were to collapse in the middle of that at that density, I couldn't get to them, couldn't respond. So how does that feel now in the centre?
You don't have a safe feeling. You can get away from it.
So psychologically, once we get above 5, we start to see that impact kicking in. Physically, once we get up into close contact, then we start to feel the shock waves. We're losing control. A higher density than that, when people describe that their feet are not touching the ground, you're up about 9, 10, maybe 11 people per square metre. And it's difficult to stop a shockwave propagating through that crowd. Okay, thank you very much for that. I really appreciate your hard work.